Ryan, and also Sean's father and his father-in-law today. So welcome. Thank you for being here on this special day as we mark not the end of a career, but a transition to an exciting new normal. Sean, before we pipe you over the side, we need to take a moment to pause and reflect not only on your career, but also the impact your dedication to service meant to this great country. Sean Jones entered the Navy from Portland, Oregon on January 24th, 1994. And for those like me who can still remember, that was the year the Buffalo Bills lost their fourth Super Bowl to the Dallas Cowboys, losing to the Dallas Cowboys. Bill Clinton was entering his second year of the presidency, and the Baseball World Series was canceled due to a players' strike. The U.S. military continued to enforce the post-Gulf War Iraqi no-fly zone. And in 1994, Sean Jones volunteered to serve his country to protect freedom by becoming a participant in history and not just reading about it in the newspaper. Ronald Reagan was the president when I joined the Navy. Yes, I know I am old, but one of his quotes still rings true today. President Reagan affirmed that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in their bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States when men were free. Joining the United States Armed Forces is not a matter to be taken lightly. The military enlistment oath says, "I will support and defend the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic." These words resonate as a commitment to pass freedom to the next generation. In 1994, Sean set out to do his part. Sean entered the Navy during the aftermath of the first Gulf War. You see, an evil dictator named Saddam Hussein had declared the border with his southern neighbor to be invalid because he wanted to control more oil. Iraq invaded Kuwait, occupying the entire country. In 1991, President George H.W. Bush, with the UN support, put together a coalition of 39 countries to remove Iraq's aggressors from Kuwait and reestablish the border. Though Sean was 3 years from entering the Navy, these actions set the stage for his future. To fully understand the world at this time, you need only to look at a few of the military missions going on at the time. While Sean was completing boot camp and ICA school in San Diego, the U.S. military was conducting numerous missions throughout Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe. Operation Provide Comfort, delivering humanitarian relief and military protection to the Kurds fleeing their homes in northern Iraq. Operation Provide Promise was a humanitarian relief operation in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And Operation Restore Hope, a humanitarian mission to restore food lines in Somalia. The movie Black Hawk Down depicts some of the events surrounding the Battle of Mogadishu. While training in 1994, ICFN Jones was serving our great country and preparing to do his part to pass on the legacy. With training complete, Sean embarked a Spruance class destroyer, USS Fletcher, DD 992. Notice it was a DD, not a DDG. Stationed in Pearl Harbor, and the fleet began to feel the impact that this young sailor was making. On Fletcher, Sean completed his first Pacific and Arabian Gulf deployment. And in 1996 and 1997, while IC-3 Jones was serving as a boarding party member to enforce United Nations sanctions, half a world away, the Green Bay Packers were driving through the playoffs to eventually win Super Bowl 31. Now in 1998, IC-3 Jones transferred to another arduous sea duty command, one of my favorites, USS Carl Vinson, CVN 70. Some of us may remember 1998 was the year the Yankees swept the Padres in 4 games to win the World Series. And a 77-year-old John Glenn became the oldest person ever to travel into outer space on the shuttle Discovery. Meanwhile, back on the Gold Eagle, Petty Officer Jones earned his qualification as enlisted surface warfare specialist and was promoted to Interior Communications Technician Second Class. As many of you know, an aircraft carrier tour of duty would not be complete without a deployment. So off he went in December 1992. IC2 Jones and I was on board there, was again a participant in history when the Gold Eagle was ready on arrival, joining USS Enterprise, CVN-65, in support of Operation Desert Fox. You see, Iraq's belligerent dictator was failing to comply with UN resolutions, threatening to shoot down aircraft enforcing the no-fly zone, and was interfering with UN Special Commission inspectors. Sound familiar? The bombing campaign lasted well into March of 1999. Now, upon return from this combat deployment, Sean's life happily changed forever when he married Amber on May 7th, 1999. Amber, thank you for your love and support you provided to Sean. Your dedication to service to this country provides an example for others to follow. Thank you. In 2000, while Faith Hill was topping the charts with her song Breathe, Sean was starting a successful 2-year tour at the Fleet Combat Training Center. In February 2001, Sean and Amber welcomed Tyler to the Jones family. IC2 was doing his part to train sailors and pass the legacy of freedom when on September 11, 2001, Islamic terrorists sponsored by Osama bin Laden murdered 2,996 people from over 80 countries in the World Trade Center, Pentagon, and a field near Shakesville, Pennsylvania. We will never forget. As we watched glued to the television, images were again reminded of the cost of freedom, just as the country had been reminded during the Pearl Harbor attack on December 7, 1941. Freedom, my friends, is not free. The preservation of freedom sometimes requires our full measure of devotion. The history of the United States is sprinkled with example after example of how ordinary people were compelled to stand in the gap to protect what is good and right, defending against all who would take that freedom from us. In 2002, Petty Officer Jones was serving, and he was doing his part to protect freedom. Now in 2003, while Tampa Bay Buccaneers were winning their Super Bowl 37, Sammy Sosa was hitting his 500th career home run. Petty Officer Jones was again returning to sea. In February, IC2 Jones reported to USS John C. Stennis. During this 5-year tour, Sean was promoted to Interior Communications Technician First Class, Qualified Aviation Warfare Specialist, and was again on the front line participating in history, completing 2 deployments as well as supporting Operational Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and numerous other exercises. IC1 Jones was making history not just reading about it in a newspaper. In 2005, between deployments, the Jones family again expanded welcoming Ryan in October. Great timing, right between deployments. Nice. In 2008, as the United States was preparing for the next presidential election, and No Country for Old Men was winning the Best Picture Oscar, IC1 Jones volunteered to join the Combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa for an individual augmentation tour. As I read Sean's Joint Service Achievement Medal citation, what stood out was not the superior technical acumen demonstrated maintaining satellite systems for which he had no previous knowledge. You see, folks, what caught my eye was Sean was halfway around the world, enjoying the pleasant dry heat of the Horn of Africa, and IC1 was volunteering. He willingly gave up his off-duty hours to care for children at a Djibouti orphanage, as well as delivering humanitarian goods to local schools and churches. This, my friends, is how we change the world. Go outside your comfort zone, participate in history, volunteer, care for your fellow human beings. Sean Jones was ensuring freedom is passed on to his children and the next generation. In 2009, while President Obama was taking office, Petty Officer Jones was completing Military Corrections Academy and reporting to Puget Sound Naval Brig, which no longer exists. During his tour, that's how you know you're getting old, when like your commands are decommissioned. Yeah. So, during his tour, he was selected to join an elite group of sailors and would become the chief. I still remember my initiation. Becoming a member of the Chief Petty Officer Mess remains a celebrated milestone in my career. Sean, what you will discover, just as I have, your brothers and sisters of the Chief's Mess are your lifelong friends, even after you transition today. In 2012, just as the New York Giants were for the second time defeating the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 46, sorry all you Patriot fans out there, Sean Jones was returning to John C. Stennis as the leading Chief Petty Officer of the Visual Aids Branch. As a special welcome back to Stennis, the scrupulous 3MO failed his work center on a 3M spot check. No hard feelings. It's all business. So, Chief Jones led the VLA Work Center through 2 extended deployments in support of Operations Enduring Freedom. So even now, as we begin 2018, almost 24 years after leaving Portland, Oregon, Chief Jones is still participating in history, serving our country and training the next generation of sailors to protect freedom from becoming extinct. So that brings us here today to the transition point leading to the next phase of your life. I'd like to share some bits of information I've learned in the last few years since my transition in hopes it might assist you. First, you're going to be busy. I am sure Amber will be more than happy to relinquish the family chauffeur duties to you, just as my wife was. But remember, take time out for the whole family. Second, the person calling your house at the most inopportune time is not the All-Ray Bosun or Master Chief Ortiz, but instead it's a computerized telemarketer or some prince from another country trying to separate you from your money. Don't answer. Third, date night does not mean ice cream social or pizza night in the Chief's Mess. Okay? Make an effort to find some new places and activities just for you and Amber. Fourth, your fireman will not be cleaning your office. And the Chief's Mess FSA will not be cleaning your head. Oh, by the way, it's called a bathroom, even though most of them don't have baths. Yeah, so that was a new one for me too. Lastly, you're going to make it through this transition. Just take some deep cleansing breaths and relax. I speak for many of our shipmates who have gone before you, and I say welcome to the Retired Club. I do recommend you continue your service. Stay involved, be attentive, and continue to make a difference, and continue the work of passing on the legacy of freedom. The active duty sailors in this room and in the fleet are counting on you to keep an eye on Washington, D.C., and work with the various service organizations to protect their benefits so they can concentrate on their mission. Amber, Tyler, and Ryan, your husband and father has not done this alone. His career, dedication, and service to this country is your service to this country. Your support for him and his career allowed him to carry out the noble task of protecting this land so that freedom never becomes extinct. Follow his example. Change the world. Tyler and Ryan, you will have the opportunity to study these world events I mentioned. Do so with the knowledge that your father was a willing participant. You'll be able to say, my father was there and made a difference. To Sean's entire family, I thank you for your support. Thank you for your service. Edmund Burke once stated, the only thing for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Officers, sailors, family members, and guests, Chief Jones has answered our nation's call to ensure freedom does not become extinct. He has stood the watch for nearly 24 years with honor and distinction. Sean, always remember you have done something. Your 24-year career stands as a shining example of how one person can make an impact on the world through faithful and dedicated service, preventing the spread of evil and preserving freedom for all Americans. All veterans of the United States of America, thank you for your contribution to history so that their efforts were not in vain. Thank you for your service, and God bless America.